Imagine a boy who, at 5 years old, was so small that the football coach refused to let him on the field, considering him too fragile even for a children's game. This child was 2 years younger than all the other players, barely reaching their shoulders, and only his grandmother's persistence made the coach give him a chance. No one could have imagined then that a few decades later this tiny boy would become an 8-time Ballon d'Or winner and be recognized as the greatest footballer in history. Lionel Andrés Messi Cuccittini was born on June 24, 1987, in the industrial city of Rosario, Santa Fe province, Argentina. And his story is a captivating tale of how physical limitations transform into incredible strength through talent, perseverance, and an boundless love for the game. Messi's family history is rooted in the world of the working class and immigration. His father, Jorge Horacio Messi, was a manager at a steel factory in Rosario, where he faced hard physical labor and modest wages every day. His mother, Celia Maria Cuccittini, worked as a part-time cleaner, combining this job with caring for 4 children. Lionel was the third child in the family. He had 2 older brothers, Rodrigo and Matias, and a younger sister, Maria Sol. The family lived in a modest house at 500 Estado de Israel Street, in the working-class neighborhood of La Bajada, one of those Rosario districts where children played football in dusty streets using anything they could find as goals. The Messi family roots stretch across the ocean to Europe. His great-great-great-grandfather, Angelo Messi, emigrated from the Italian city of Recanati in the Marche region to Argentina in 1883, in search of a better life, like millions of other Italians at that time. Another branch of the family had Catalan roots. His great-great-grandfather Ramon Llobera Pérez was born in 1895 in the Catalan village of El Poal. This blend of Italian passion and Catalan perseverance seemed to be embedded in Lionel's DNA from birth. An interesting fact, Ramon's brother, Gonçal Llobera Pérez, is the great-great-grandfather of another famous footballer, Bojan Krkic, making Messi and Krkic distant relatives. Lionel's childhood was spent in an atmosphere where football was not just a game, but a way of life. Rosario, a city with a population of over 1 million, was famous for its football culture and produced many stars, including the legendary Ernesto Che Guevara, who was also born there. On the streets of this city, where metallurgical factories coexisted with football fields, little Leo spent every free minute with a ball at his feet. He played with his brothers, cousins Emmanuel and Maximiliano Biancucci, who also later became professional footballers, and neighborhood boys on improvised pitches, where asphalt replaced grass and rusty goals were the reward for winners. But the central figure in Lionel's early passion for football was not his parents or even his brothers. It was his maternal grandmother, Celia Cuccittini. She was the first to see a spark of genius in the tiny 4-year-old child that others overlooked because of his miniature stature. Grandmother Celia regularly took Lionel to his older brother's training sessions at the amateur club, Grandoli, where the boy sat in the stands and carefully studied every movement of the players on the field. She was the one who always believed in me when I was very young, Messi later recalled. Celia convinced Grandoli coach Salvador Aparicio to give her grandson a chance, even though the boy was only 5 years old and 2 years younger than the rest of the team's players. Messi took his first steps in organized football at Grandoli in 1992, when he was just 5 years old. The team's coach was his father, Jorge, who combined his factory job with coaching the youth team in the evenings and on weekends. This was the time when Lionel got his famous nickname La Pulga, the Flea. The nickname arose from his tiny stature and incredible ability to slip between defenders as if he were invisible. Despite his size, little Leo demonstrated astonishing agility, ball control, and a goal-scoring instinct that made adults stop and watch. At school, Messi was an average student who didn't stand out for either particular success or problems. Of all subjects, he only liked 2: physical education and music. I wasn't a good student, but I wasn't a bad one either, he later admitted. Teachers remembered a shy, quiet boy who only came alive on the sports field. After becoming a professional footballer, Messi didn't forget his school. He bought furniture, computers, and textbooks for it, and the school even created a museum dedicated to its most famous alumnus. In 1994, when Lionel was 7 years old, his football career took an important step forward. He moved to the youth academy of Newell's Old Boys, one of Rosario's most prestigious clubs. This was the club that had given Argentine football many stars and had one of the best youth systems in the country. His father, Jorge, signed his first official contract as his legal representative, and a new chapter in the young footballer's life began. At Newell's, Messi joined the legendary team of boys born in 1987, who earned the nickname La Máquina del 87, the 87 Machine. This team was virtually invincible. In 1999, they achieved an incredible streak of 45 consecutive victories, becoming a local football legend. Messi's first match for Newell's was a true statement of his talent. He scored 4 goals, a poker, in his debut game. From that moment on, all the talk at the club was about the little boy with incredible dribbling skills and a goal-scoring instinct. In 6 years at Newell's Old Boys, young Messi scored over 500 goals for the youth team, a figure that seems fantastic even for an adult professional footballer. The club's coaches recall that the boy literally lived for football. He came to training earlier than anyone else and left last, constantly working on his technique, dribbling, and shots. The atmosphere of working-class Rosario shaped in Messi the qualities that later became his hallmark: modesty, hard work, and unwavering dedication to the game. In this city where factory chimneys spewed smoke into the sky, and football dreams were the only way for thousands of boys to escape poverty, Lionel learned not only to play football, but also to fight for his place in the sun. Grandmother Celia's role was so important that even after her death, Messi maintained the tradition of dedicating his goals to her. He raises 2 index fingers to the sky and looks upwards, as if saying, "This is for you, Grandma." This gesture has become one of the most recognizable in world football, a symbol of gratitude to the woman who first believed in the impossible. But it was during this period of carefree childhood football happiness that fate prepared a challenge for the 11-year-old Messi, one that could have crushed all his dreams and forever altered the trajectory of his life. In 1997, when Lionel was 10 years old, doctors gave him a diagnosis that sounded like a death sentence for any boy dreaming of professional football: somatotropin deficiency, growth hormone deficiency. At this point, Messi's height was only 127 centimeters, and his weight barely reached 30 kilograms. His parents noticed that their son was significantly behind his peers in growth and sought specialists at a local Rosario hospital. The examination stretched over 6 months and included numerous blood tests, bone x-rays, and hormone level tests. The results were unambiguous. The boy's pituitary gland was not producing enough growth hormone necessary for normal physical development. Dr. Diego Schwartzstein, the endocrinologist treating Messi, explained the harsh reality to the family. Without treatment, Lionel would barely grow taller than 140 centimeters. This condition, growth hormone deficiency, GHD, occurs in approximately 1 in 3,000–10,000 children and requires expensive medical intervention. The only way to help the boy was to administer regular injections of recombinant growth hormone, which had to be injected daily into the quadriceps. The cost of a monthly course of treatment was $500, an amount that was completely unaffordable for the Messi family, where the father earned a modest manager's salary at the factory, and the mother worked as a cleaner. For 11-year-old Lionel, the diagnosis was a shock, but not the end of a dream. "I never thought of giving up football because of the illness," Messi later recalled. His parents decided to fight. His mother Celia sold the family car, his father took on extra work, and relatives pooled money to at least start the treatment. For the first few months, injections were partially covered by insurance, but soon the insurance company refused to cover the costs, citing that the treatment was too expensive and long-term. The family was on the verge of despair, but Jorge Messi was adamant. "We will find a way to cure him, even if it costs us everything we have." Despite his medical problems, Lionel continued to play for Newell's Old Boys with the same passion and perseverance. In 1996, when he was just 9 years old, his team traveled to an international tournament, the Friendship Cup in Peru. Before the decisive match, Messi suffered severe food poisoning and spent the night in the hospital. But in the morning, he adamantly refused to miss the game. He came onto the field pale and weakened, but in 90 minutes he scored 8 goals, leading his team to a resounding 10-0 victory. This match became a legend. Opposing coaches couldn't believe that one small boy was capable of such dominance. In 1999, the Newell's Old Boys team of boys born in 1987, in which Messi played, earned the nickname La Máquina del 87, the 87 Machine. This team set an incredible record, winning 45 consecutive matches in 3 different tournaments, with 15 games in each. Messi was the undisputed star of the team, scoring an average of 2 to 3 goals per match. Opponents tried to stop him with rough play. In one match, a defender tackled Lionel so hard that the boy broke his wrist. But even with a cast on his arm, he continued to train, working on his dribbling and ball control with his left foot. In 6 years at the Newell's Youth Academy, from 1994 to 2000, Messi scored over 500 goals. This statistic seems incredible even for a professional forward, let alone a child who was a head shorter than all his teammates and opponents. The club's coaches recall that Lionel compensated for his lack of height with phenomenal speed of thought, dribbling, and the ability to find space where it seemed there was none. He was like a ghost on the field, one of his mentors said. However, the medical problem did not disappear. It became more acute. By the age of 11, it became clear that without regular treatment, Messi's football career was doomed. Jorge Messi appealed to the management of Newell's Old Boys for help with medical expenses, but the club, experiencing financial difficulties, refused. His father tried to find support from another major Argentine club, River Plate from Buenos Aires. Club representatives came to Rosario, watched Lionel play, and were impressed. But when they learned of the need to pay for expensive treatment, they also refused. For Argentine clubs, investing in an 11-year-old boy with medical problems seemed too risky. The Messi family was at an impasse. Money for treatment was running out. Argentine clubs refused to help, and without therapy, Lionel's future in football became uncertain. At this critical moment, 2 football agents from Rosario, Martin Montero and Fabian Soldini, offered to arrange a tryout for Messi at a European club. They contacted Spanish Barcelona and arranged for a trial training session. In 2000, when Lionel turned 13, his father took a leave from the factory, and together they traveled to Spain for a tryout that was about to change everything. The tryout in Barcelona was scheduled for September 17, 2000. 13-year-old Lionel, along with his father Jorge, made an exhausting day-long flight from Rosario via Buenos Aires to Spain. After landing at noon, they only had time to drop off their bags at the hotel. Barcelona insisted that the boy participate in a training session with his age group, which was scheduled to start at 6 p.m. When Messi first ran onto the dirt training pitch next to Gerard Piqué, everyone froze. The Argentine was barely waist-high to his future teammate. Lionel's height was only 137 centimeters, and he was so fragile and small that he seemed like a toy among the Spanish teenagers. On the day Leo arrived, we saw how small and skinny he was. We thought we would simply eat him up, recalls Marc Pedraza, who was part of the generation of 87, the golden generation of players from Barcelona's youth academy born in 1987. But as soon as the training started, all doubts evaporated. Messi got the ball and started doing what he did best, dribbling. He went past defenders as if they didn't exist, weaving past one after another with incredible ease, and his left foot worked magic with every touch. The Barcelona coaches watching this scene exchanged amazed glances. They hadn't seen such talent in many years. However, the path to signing a contract proved to be winding and agonizing. The club's management, despite the boy's obvious talent, hesitated. Investing money in a 13-year-old Argentine with medical problems seemed too risky. Weeks turned into months, and the Messi family in Rosario lost patience. By December 2000, the situation reached a critical point. Ruben Horacio Gagioli, a businessman from Rosario representing the young footballer's interests, issued an ultimatum to the club. "My partners in Argentina told me, Horacio, talk to Barcelona. We can't wait any longer. If they're not interested, we'll consider other options." By then, Milan's AC Milan had shown interest in Messi, and Madrid's Real and Atletico had begun actively scouting the Argentine prodigy. Barcelona's sporting director Carles Rexach understood that there was no more time to lose. Talent of such a level could not be missed. In the early evening of December 14, 2000, at the Pompeia Tennis Club, located on the foothills of Montjuic, a green mountain overlooking Barcelona and the Mediterranean Sea. A meeting took place that would change the history of football. Rexach met with Guardiola and other representatives of the Messi family to finally decide the boy's fate. At this meeting, what would later become one of football's most famous stories happened. Rexach didn't have official documents at hand, and to demonstrate the seriousness of his intentions and reassure the nervous Argentine side, he grabbed a paper napkin and wrote a preliminary agreement on it. The text read, "In Barcelona on December 14, 2000, in the presence of Minguella and Horacio, Carlos Rexach, FCB Technical Director, agrees to the signing of Lionel Messi, notwithstanding any opposing opinions, as long as the previously agreed conditions are respected." This napkin is now kept in the Barcelona Museum as a priceless relic. According to the preliminary agreement, Lionel was entitled to 100 million pesetas per year, approximately $654,000, if he played for the first team, as well as royalties for the use of his image. But most importantly, Barcelona agreed to cover all the costs of growth hormone treatment, which amounted to about $1,500 per month, and to provide employment for his father Jorge at the club. For the Messi family, this was salvation. Finally, there was an opportunity to provide their son with full treatment and a future in professional football. However, signing the napkin was just the beginning of a long bureaucratic saga. The official contract was formalized on March 1, 2001, in a restaurant with lawyers from both sides present. But when the document was handed over for signature to one of the club's vice presidents, Juan Ignacio Brugueras, who was skeptical about the idea of signing an underage Argentine, a scandal erupted. According to some reports, he tore up the contract, deeming the terms unacceptable. Negotiations reached an impasse, and Real Madrid, led by sporting director Jorge Valdano, took a wait-and-see approach, ready to snatch the talent if the deal fell through. Does he think he's Maradona? Let's forget about him and let him go back to Argentina, one of Barcelona's directors said during the tense negotiations. "I think we'll go to Madrid," Messi's representative retorted. The atmosphere became heated, but eventually both sides made concessions. The revised agreement was signed on December 5, 2001, according to which Jorge Messi was to receive about $3,900 per month for working at the club, and his son would receive various payments depending on the number of matches, results, and level of play. But even after the contract was signed, there was still the issue of playing status. Newell's old boys delayed providing the necessary documents, which prevented Messi from playing in official Spanish competitions. Finally, on February 15, 2002, after almost 2 years of agonizing waiting, FIFA announced a decision in favor of Barcelona, which finally made the Argentine a full-fledged player of the club. All this time, Lionel was undergoing intensive treatment. Every evening, he administered growth hormone injections under his skin, usually in his thigh. It was a painful and psychologically difficult process for a teenager, but Messi never complained. The treatment continued until he was 14, when doctors confirmed that his growth had normalized. The final result was 169 centimeters. Not an ideal height for a footballer, but sufficient to compete at a professional level. Adapting to life in Spain was not easy. Messi lived in the La Masia Academy dormitory, Barcelona's legendary talent factory, where generations of great footballers were nurtured. He missed his mother Celia, who remained in Argentina with the younger children. He missed his native Rosario, the streets where he played football with friends. Spanish was difficult, his accent betrayed him as a foreigner, and Catalan culture seemed alien. But at La Masia, Lionel found a new family. He befriended Cesc Fabregas, Gerard Piqué, and other academy trainees who would become his teammates for many years. On February 17, 2002, Messi finally made his national championship debut in a match against the club Esplugues de Llobregat. He came on as a substitute in the second half and scored a hat-trick, announcing himself as an incredible talent. From that moment, his rapid ascent through all of Barcelona's youth teams began. His progress was so impressive that coaches couldn't keep up with moving him to the next level. Every training session, every game confirmed. The napkin signed in December 2000 was the best investment in the club's history. The path from an Argentine boy with a diagnosis that could have shattered his dream to a player ready to storm the heights of world football had been traversed. And now, it only remained to prove to the whole world that Barcelona had not made a mistake by betting on this small but incredibly talented Argentine. By the start of the 2003-04 season, Messi was simultaneously playing for two of the club's youth teams, Barcelona C and Barcelona B, demonstrating such a level of play that the first-team coaches could not help but notice him. On November 16, 2003, an event occurred that would forever change the trajectory of the 17-year-old Argentine's career. Barcelona's head coach Frank Rijkaard included Messi in the squad for a friendly match against Portuguese Porto, led by the legendary José Mourinho. Lionel was just 16 years, 4 months, and 23 days old when he came on as a substitute in the 72nd minute. The match ended in a 0-2 defeat, but Messi had two goal-scoring opportunities that made Rijkaard ponder the future of this small but incredibly technical player. However, the path to the main squad proved to be thorny. The Spanish Football Federation only allowed 3 non-EU citizens on the field at the same time. This meant that even with his talent, Messi had to compete for playing time with other foreign players at the club. In international matches, he was allowed, but in the domestic championship, difficulties arose. Other European football giants began to show interest in the young Argentine. Milan's Inter was ready to offer a $150 million contract, and Juventus, in the person of captain Fabio Capello, wanted to loan the player. But Messi decided to remain loyal to Barcelona, the club that believed in him when everyone else refused to help with his treatment. On October 16, 2004, Messi finally made his official debut in a Spanish league match, the Catalan Derby, against arch-rival Espanyol. Rijkaard brought him on as a substitute with 8 minutes remaining, with the score at 1-0 in favor of Barcelona. Despite minimal playing time, the mere fact of the coach's trust was a huge step forward for the 17-year-old. 2 months later, on December 7, 2004, Messi made his first appearance in the Champions League in a match against Ukrainian Shakhtar Donetsk, which ended in a 0-2 defeat. Each appearance on the field was a lesson, each minute a priceless experience. Messi scored his first goal for Barcelona on May 1, 2005, in a match against Albacete. It was a moment that would become legendary. Lionel came on as a substitute at the end of the match, and Brazilian superstar Ronaldinho, who by then had become his mentor and older brother on the field, gave him a perfect pass. Messi coolly struck the ball into the net, and at 17 years, 10 months, and 7 days, he became the youngest player in the history of the Catalan club to score a goal in the Spanish championship. When the legendary Ronaldinho saw the boy play, he declared that Messi would become a greater footballer than himself, eyewitnesses of that period recalled. This statement seemed incredible. Ronaldinho was at the peak of his fame, but the Brazilian possessed an amazing ability to see the future. The 2004-05 season was triumphant for Barcelona. The team won the Spanish championship for the first time in 6 years. Messi played his part in this success, showing the world his amazing abilities and endless potential. All the world's football experts began talking about a new rising star. But the next season, 2005-06, brought not only triumphs but also disappointments. Messi scored his first Champions League goal and helped the team reach the final of Europe's premier tournament. However, 2 weeks before the decisive match against London's Arsenal, he suffered an injury, a hamstring tear. Lionel could only watch from the stands as his team won 2-1 and claimed Europe's top club trophy. Tears of joy mixed with bitterness. He dreamed of being on the field in that historic moment. Injuries became a constant companion for young Messi in the early years of his professional career. 2 hamstring tears, a fractured metatarsal in his right foot, a torn femoral biceps, numerous relapses. Opponents showed no mercy to the Argentine, who dribbled past them as if they were training cones. Each injury meant months of recovery, pain, and uncertainty. But Messi didn't give up. He worked with physiotherapists, changed his diet, began to pay more attention to strength training to strengthen his muscles and ligaments. Despite health problems, the 2006-07 season was a breakthrough in Messi's career. He scored 14 goals in the league and 11 in other tournaments, becoming one of the team's key players. At the end of the season, the 20-year-old Argentine was nominated for the prestigious Ballon d'Or award and finished in 3rd place, an incredible achievement for a player of his age. the football world began to understand. Messi was not just a talented player, he was a future legend. However, in Lionel's personal life, a tragic event occurred in 2007 that strengthened the most important relationship in his life. His childhood sweetheart, Antonella Rocuzzo, whom he met at the age of 9 through his cousin Lucas Scalia in Rosario, lost a close friend in a car accident. Upon learning of the tragedy, Messi immediately returned to Argentina to support Antonella. This was a turning point in their relationship. They reconnected, and from that moment, their bond became unbreakable. Antonella became his safe haven in the turbulent sea of professional football, the person who knew him not as a superstar, but as an ordinary boy from Rosario. In 2008, Messi had the opportunity to represent Argentina at the Olympic Games in Beijing. For him, it was a chance to prove that he could be a leader of the national team. The Argentine Olympic team, under the guidance of Sergio Batista, played brilliant football, and Messi was its main star. In the final against Nigeria, Lionel provided an assist, and Argentina won the gold medal with a score of 1-0. This was Messi's first major trophy with the national team, a moment that showed he was capable of winning not only at Barcelona. Meanwhile, things at the Catalan club were not going well. Barcelona finished the 2007-08 season without trophies, which was a disaster for a club of that caliber. Frank Rijkaard, the coach who gave Messi his first chance in the first team, left his post in the summer of 2008. No one knew then that his replacement would be a man who would transform Barcelona into the greatest team in football history and Messi into the best player on the planet. A new era was on the horizon, and Lionel Messi was ready to become its main hero. In the summer of 2008, a man arrived at Barcelona who would forever change not only the club's destiny, but also the entire philosophy of modern football. Pep Guardiola, a former team captain who had spent his entire playing career at the Catalan club, took over as head coach at just 37 years old. Many considered his appointment risky. Guardiola had no experience managing a top-flight team, and skeptics predicted failure. But the Catalan had a clear vision. He wanted to revive the philosophy of total football based on ball possession, pressing, and positional play. Lionel Messi was to be at the center of this revolution. The first thing Guardiola did was give Messi the legendary number 10 shirt, which Ronaldinho had vacated after moving to AC Milan. It was a symbolic gesture. The Brazilian era had ended, and the Argentine era had begun. But the most important change occurred in tactics. Guardiola moved Messi from the position of right winger to the center of attack, but not as a classic forward, but as a false nine. This position meant that Lionel would constantly drop into midfield, creating free zones on the flanks and actively participating in building attacks. For opponents, this was a nightmare. Defenders didn't know whether to follow Messi deep or stay in position, which created chaos in their defense. The 2008-09 season was absolutely triumphant. On October 1, 2008, in a Champions League match against Shakhtar Donetsk, Messi scored a late brace to secure a 2-1 victory for his team. This was just the beginning of an incredible run. In the Champions League quarterfinal against Bayern Munich, the Argentine again scored a brace and provided 2 assists, crushing the German club 4-0. On May 2, 2009, in the legendary El Clásico against Real Madrid, Messi scored 2 goals, and Barcelona destroyed their arch-rivals 6-2. In the Copa del Rey final against Basque side, Athletic Bilbao, Lionel scored the decisive goal in a 4-1 victory. The climax of the season was the Champions League final on May 27, 2009, in Rome against English club Manchester United, the team of the legendary Alex Ferguson, the reigning European champions. Guardiola built his tactics around Messi as a false nine, and the English couldn't find an answer to this football puzzle. The match ended 2-0 in favor of the Catalans, and Messi scored the second goal with a header, an incredible sight, considering his height of only 169 centimeters. Lionel was named the best player of the final and also became the top scorer of the tournament with 9 goals. Barcelona won a historic treble, the Spanish Championship, the Copa del Rey, and the UEFA Champions League, a feat that few are capable of repeating. By the end of the championship, Messi had scored 23 goals and provided 12 assists in 31 appearances, and in total for the season, he scored 47 goals. These figures were phenomenal for a 22-year-old player. At the beginning of the next season, 2009-10, Barcelona extended Messi's contract until 2016, setting a buyout clause of €250 million, an astronomical figure by the standards of the time. The club understood Messi was not just a player, he was the face of the franchise for decades to come. On December 1, 2009, an event occurred that would forever go down in football history. Lionel Messi received his first Ballon d'Or award, collecting 473 out of a possible 480 points. He became the first Argentine to be awarded this honor and the youngest recipient of the trophy since Ronaldo. A few weeks later, on December 21st, he was named the best player of 2009 by FIFA. In the same month, Barcelona won the Club World Cup, where Messi scored the winning goals both in the semi-final against Mexican Atlante and in the final against Argentine Estudiantes in extra time. 6 trophies in one calendar year, an unprecedented achievement in the history of club football. The 2009-10 season continued this triumphant streak. On January 16th, in a match against Sevilla, Messi scored his 100th goal for Barcelona, an incredible milestone for a 22-year-old player. On April 6th, in the second leg of the Champions League quarter-final against London's Arsenal, Lionel scored a poker for the first time in his career, netting 4 goals and becoming the top scorer of the tournament. At the end of the season, Messi received his first European Golden Boot award for being Europe's top scorer. The next 2 seasons cemented Messi's status as the best player on the planet. He won the Ballon d'Or in 2010, 2011, and 2012, 4 consecutive awards, an unprecedented feat in football history. The legendary trio of Messi, Xavi, Iniesta created a style of football that experts called tiki-taka at its zenith. Endless passes, 70–80% ball possession, pressing, and a breathtaking beauty of play. The 2011-12 season set an absolute record. Messi scored 73 goals in all competitions, including 50 in the Spanish League, a record that still stands today. These numbers seemed fantastic even for the greatest strikers of the past. He scored hat-tricks, braces, pokers. It seemed nothing could stop him. "The time when I grew most as a footballer," Messi would later say about his period working with Guardiola. In Lionel's personal life, important changes were also taking place. In 2008-2009, he officially announced his relationship with Antonella Roccuzzo, and the couple became one of the most beloved in the football world. On November 2, 2012, their first son Thiago was born. Fatherhood added a new dimension to Messi's life. He was no longer just a footballer. Now he was a family man for whom family came first. But in 2012, what many considered the end of an era happened. Pep Guardiola announced that he was leaving Barcelona after 4 incredible years. 4 years, 14 trophies, a revolution in football. "We had a fantastic relationship when he was here," Messi would later say, adding sadly, "Now we don't have any special relationship." The rift between teacher and student became obvious. Guardiola left to seek new challenges, and Messi remained at Barcelona to prove that his greatness did not depend on one coach. A new chapter was about to begin, and it would bring both triumphs and unexpected challenges. After Guardiola's departure, Barcelona appointed Tito Vilanova, Pep's former assistant, as head coach. Vilanova was intimately familiar with the club's philosophy and had faith in the players. The 2012-13 season began triumphantly. The team displayed the same beautiful football, and Messi continued to score an incredible number of goals. However, in the middle of the season, Vilanova became seriously ill, and his absence affected the team's results. Despite this, Barcelona won the Spanish championship, although they were eliminated from the Champions League by Bayern Munich with a crushing aggregate score of 0–7. A humiliating defeat that became one of the bitterest in the club's history. In the summer of 2013, Vilanova resigned as coach due to health reasons, and his place was taken by Argentine Gerardo Martino, who was brought in largely to improve understanding with Messi. However, the 2013-14 season proved to be a failure. Barcelona went without trophies for the first time in 6 years. The team won neither the League, nor the Copa del Rey, nor the Champions League, which was a disaster for the Catalan club. Martino left the team, and the management understood radical changes were needed. In the summer of 2014, Luis Enrique, a former Barcelona player and a man with a strong character, was appointed head coach. From the very beginning, tension arose between him and Messi. Enrique was known for his tough approach and had no intention of granting anyone special status, not even the best player in the world. The conflict culminated in January 2015, when Messi was excluded from the squad for the match against Espanyol and then missed an open training session on Three Kings Day, a traditional event where the team trains in front of thousands of fans. Rumors of disagreements between the star and the coach filled the press. There was tension between Messi and Luis Enrique, a former Barcelona goalkeeper later recalled, describing the atmosphere in the locker room during that period. The situation was resolved by team captain Xavi Hernandez, who held talks with both sides and convinced them to focus on the common goal. This step proved to be a salvation. The team rallied and began a phenomenal winning streak. By the end of the 2014-15 season, Messi had scored 58 goals in 57 matches, and Barcelona won a historic treble: the Spanish Championship, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. It was the second treble in the club's history, and Messi was once again at the center of the triumph. But off the football field, Lionel's life was taking on new colors. On November 2, 2012, he and Antonella Roccuzzo welcomed their first son, named Thiago. Fatherhood completely changed Messi's priorities. Now he sought to spend every free minute with his family. "She handles everyday life wonderfully, always in a good mood," Lionel said of Antonella, who became his quiet haven in the turbulent world of professional football. Despite the fame and pressure, Messi never discussed football at the family dinner table, dedicating that time entirely to his children. On September 11, 2015, the family grew again with the birth of their second son, Matteo, who, as would later become clear, had a completely different temperament than his older brother. While Thiago was calm and shy, Matteo proved to be a true scamp with a rebellious character. Lionel often joked that his youngest son was his complete opposite on and off the field. On June 30, 2017, Messi and Antonella celebrated the wedding of the century in their hometown of Rosario. The ceremony took place at the City Center Hotel and gathered over 250 guests, including all the Barcelona stars, Luis Suárez, Neymar, Xavi, Carles Puyol, and others. It was a grand event for the city where Messi took his first steps in football. The couple, who had known each other since childhood and had overcome years of separation, finally officially legalized their relationship. On March 10, 2018, their third son, Ciro, was born, completing the Messi family's football team. Lionel became a caring father of 3 boys, and his life revolved around 2 things: football and family. In interviews, he admitted to having many quirks. All family members must sit in their designated seats at the table. He never wears shoes at home, and he prefers a certain order in everything. These small rituals helped him maintain mental stability under colossal pressure. Messi's hobbies were simple and down-to-earth. He loved paddle tennis, an Argentine variant of tennis that he played with friends on weekends. PlayStation remained his favorite way to relax after training. He often played FIFA and other games with his teammates. But the most important habit became yerba mate, a traditional Argentine drink that he drank every day, maintaining a connection to his homeland. This ritual reminded him of Rosario, of his grandmother Celia, of the times when football was just a game on dusty streets. Professionally, Messi continued to dominate. The 2015-16 season brought another double: the League and the Copa del Rey. His partnership with Neymar and Luis Suárez created the legendary MSN trio, which scored an average of over 100 goals per season. It seemed nothing could stop this machine. But ahead lay challenges of a completely different kind. Challenges that would test Messi's resilience not in club football, but in international football. While Messi was winning trophy after trophy at Barcelona, a completely different story was unfolding with the Argentine national team. A story of heroic struggle, bitter disappointments, and unbearable pressure from an entire nation. The paradox of Lionel's career was that the man considered the best footballer on the planet could not win the ultimate trophy for his country, and this pursued him like a curse. Messi's journey with the national team began triumphantly. In 2005, an 18-year-old Lionel led the Argentina U20 team to victory at the FIFA World Youth Championship, where he was named the best player of the tournament. 3 years later, at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, he was a key player in the team that won gold medals, defeating Nigeria 1-0 in the final. It seemed like a sign. Messi would bring long-awaited glory to Argentina at the senior level. The first serious test was the 2007 Copa America in Venezuela. Argentina reached the final, where they met Brazil, a fierce rival. The match ended in a 0-3 defeat, and for the 20-year-old Messi, this was his first bitter disappointment with the national team. Critics began to ask the question that would haunt him for years. Why does Messi play so brilliantly for Barcelona but cannot replicate it for the national team? The 2010 World Cup in South Africa brought new disappointment. Under the leadership of the legendary Diego Maradona, who was appointed head coach, Argentina were eliminated in the quarter-finals by Germany with a crushing 0-4 defeat. The relationship between Messi and Maradona was complex. The great predecessor publicly supported Lionel, but private disagreements and different views on football created tension. After the failure, Maradona left his coaching post, and a wave of criticism from Argentina engulfed Messi. Many accused him of not being patriotic enough, that Barcelona was more important to him than his homeland. The 2014 World Cup in Brazil became Messi's closest chance for greatness with the national team. Under the guidance of Alejandro Sabella, Argentina played disciplined football and reached the final, where they met Germany. Messi led the team through every round, scoring important goals against Bosnia and Herzegovina, Iran, and Nigeria. In the final on July 13, 2014, at the legendary Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, Argentina faced the German machine. The match was tense. Both teams had chances, but in the 113th minute of extra time, Mario Götze scored the winning goal, and Germany won 1-0. Messi stood on the field in a daze, staring into space. He was awarded the prize for the best player of the tournament, but this award could not heal the pain of defeat. "I would trade all my individual awards for one team trophy with Argentina," he would later say. The photograph of a heartbroken Messi with silver medals became a symbol of his struggle with the national team. The following year brought a new challenge, the 2015 Copa America in Chile. Argentina again reached the final, where they met the hosts of the tournament. The match ended 0-0, and the winner was decided by a penalty shootout. Messi scored his kick, but his teammates missed, and Chile won 4-1 on penalties. This was the second consecutive final defeat, and the pressure on Lionel became unbearable. The Copa America Centenario in 2016 in the USA became a turning point. Argentina reached the final for the third time in a row, and for the third time in a row, they met Chile. History repeated itself with alarming precision. 0 in regular time, followed by a penalty shootout. This time, Messi was the first to step up, and he missed, sending the ball over the bar. Chile won 4-2 on penalties again, and this was the moment something broke inside Lionel. On June 27, 2016, immediately after the match, Messi announced his retirement from the national team. "It's not for me. The national team is over. I've done everything I could, but it didn't work out," he said with tears in his eyes. All of Argentina was in shock. Football legends, journalists, and fans begged him to return. President Mauricio Macri personally called Messi and asked him to reconsider his decision. A few months later, Lionel changed his mind and returned to the national team. He realized that he couldn't abandon his country, that the struggle had to continue. The 2018 World Cup in Russia became a new hope. But qualification was difficult. Argentina barely made it to the tournament, and only a Messi hat-trick in the last match against Ecuador secured their ticket to Russia. At the World Cup itself, Argentina, under Jorge Sampaoli, played chaotically and unconvincingly. In the group stage, the team barely progressed, and in the round of 16, they met the future champions, France with young Kylian Mbappé. France defeated Argentina 4-3, and Messi's dream of a championship title once again crumbled. Lionel left the field in tears, realizing that time was running out and the main trophy remained elusive. Over these 12 years with the national team, Messi experienced everything: The glory of youth victories, the bitterness of 3 consecutive final defeats, the pressure of an entire nation, media criticism, a temporary departure and return. Argentine fans were divided. Some considered him the greatest, others accused him of being unable to win for the country. Comparisons with Maradona, who led Argentina to victory in the 1986 World Cup, were constant and harsh. But Messi did not give up. He continued to wear the white and blue jersey, continued to fight, continued to believe that one day the stars would align. Ahead of him lay the most important years of his career, years that would either immortalize his name as the greatest or leave him with the bitter taste of almost champion. But for now, the story with the national team remained unfinished, and in his club career, events were happening that would forever change his life. Messi's final years at Barcelona were marked not only by individual achievements but also by increasing chaos in the club's management. President Josep Maria Bartomeu led the team to financial disaster. Astronomical player salaries, failed transfers, and hundreds of millions of euros in debt turned the once richest club in the world into a bankrupt. In August 2020, after a humiliating 2-8 defeat to Bayern Munich in the Champions League quarter-finals, Messi sent the club a bureau fax, an official demand for immediate termination of his contract. The Argentine was furious and wanted to leave the team to which he had dedicated his entire career. Barcelona refused to release Messi without a $700 million buyout clause, and Lionel ultimately stayed, stating, "I didn't want to sue the club I love. My wife and children wanted to stay in Barcelona." Bartomeu resigned in October 2020 under pressure from scandals and crisis. Joan Laporta became the new president in March 2021, promising fans to keep Messi at all costs. In the summer of 2021, an event occurred that changed everything. On July 10, 2021, Messi led the Argentine national team to a long-awaited victory at the Copa America, defeating Brazil 1-0 in the final. This was the first major trophy with the national team in 28 years, and Lionel was finally able to shed the curse of failures. It seemed that after this triumph, extending his contract with Barcelona was just a formality. On July 15, 2021, Messi agreed to stay at the club on a reduced salary. He was ready to cut his wages in half and sign a contract until 2026. The parties reached a full agreement, and the presentation of the new contract was scheduled for early August. But on the evening of August 5, 2021, the football world stopped. Barcelona released a statement. Despite the fact that the club and Lionel Messi have reached an agreement, due to financial and structural obstacles related to the Spanish league regulations, it is impossible to sign a new contract. Messi will not remain at Barcelona. The reason was cruelly simple. La Liga demanded strict adherence to financial fair play, and Barcelona's wage bill exceeded the limits to such an extent that even a reduced Messi contract could not be registered. President Laporta refused to accept an offer from the investment fund CVC to inject 270 million euros in exchange for 10% of television rights for 50 years, considering the terms usurious. This refusal cost Messi his career at Barcelona. On August 8, 2021, at a press conference at Camp Nou, 34-year-old Messi bid farewell to the club of his life. He came out to reporters and could not hold back tears. "I did everything to stay. I was ready to make huge sacrifices for the club," he said through sobs. His entire family sat beside him, Antonella, and their 3 sons, who also cried, seeing their father in such a state. In 21 years at the club, Messi played 778 matches, scored 672 goals, and won 35 trophies, including 10 Spanish championships and 4 Champions Leagues. This press conference became one of the most emotional moments in football history. Less than 48 hours later, Messi signed a 2-year contract with Parisian Paris Saint-Germain for 75 million euros. He joined Neymar and Kylian Mbappé, creating a galactic trio. Adapting to Paris was difficult. His first season was the most modest of Messi's career. He scored only 11 goals. Critics attacked him. Many believed that the 35-year-old Argentine was no longer the same. But on December 18, 2022, in Qatar, Lionel Messi wrote the final and most important chapter of his career. In the World Cup final, Argentina met France in a match that would go down in history as the greatest final of all time. Messi scored 2 goals, from a penalty in the 23rd minute and in the 108th minute of extra time. The score was 3-3, a penalty shootout, and Argentina won. Messi lifted the Golden Cup above his head, wearing a traditional Arabic bisht cloak, which the Emir of Qatar had placed on him. His 3 sons and Antonella cried with joy in the stands. The curse was lifted. Messi became a world champion. His second season at PSG was more successful. Messi scored 21 goals and provided 20 assists, but club ambitions remained unfulfilled. In the summer of 2023, his contract expired, and Lionel made a decision that surprised the world. He rejected fabulous offers from Saudi Arabia and a return to Barcelona, choosing instead a new challenge across the Atlantic. Messi's decision to move to Miami in the summer of 2023 caused a global sensation. He rejected a staggering $400 million per year offer from Saudi Arabian club Al Hilal and an emotional return to Barcelona, instead choosing the American Major League Soccer. Inter Miami, which was in last place in the Eastern Conference and had never won a major trophy in its history, attracted the Argentine not with money, but with a project and a vision. Club co-owner David Beckham, who himself once revolutionized MLS, personally convinced Messi to become part of an ambitious plan to transform Miami into a global football capital. The contract was for 2.5 years until the end of 2025, with a salary of around $54 million per year. But in addition to the money, the deal included unique bonuses: a percentage of club merchandise sales, a share of future revenues from partnerships with Apple TV and Adidas, and an option to buy a stake in the club after his career ends. Messi already owned a house in Miami, where his family spent vacations, and for Antonella and their 3 sons, the move meant the beginning of a new, calmer life away from European pressure. Messi's debut on July 21, 2023, in a Leagues Cup match against Mexican club Cruz Azul, became a moment that went down in American football history. In the 94th minute, with the score tied at 1-1, Inter Miami received a free kick 25 meters from the goal. Messi stepped up to the ball and sent it into the top corner, a perfect goal in his debut match. The stadium erupted in applause, and the video of that moment garnered tens of millions of views worldwide. It was classic Messi, a savior at the last minute. The following weeks were a triumphant march. Messi scored in almost every match, and Inter Miami went through the entire Leagues Cup tournament, winning the club's first trophy in its history. In the final against Nashville on August 19th, the Argentine was again the hero, scoring a goal and leading the team to victory in a penalty shootout. In 7 weeks, Messi transformed the worst team in the league into champions. It was not just a football miracle, it was Messi mania that swept across North America. Messi was joined by his former Barcelona teammates, striker Luis Suárez, midfielders Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba. This reunion of the Catalan club's legends created incredible chemistry on the field. The team's coach became Javier Mascherano, Messi's former teammate for the Argentine national team and Barcelona. It was a dream team assembled in American paradise. The 2024 season became historic. Inter Miami won the Supporters' Shield, the prize for the best regular season record, accumulating a record 74 points. Messi scored 29 goals and provided 19 assists, totaling 48 goal contributions, one less than the MLS record held by Carlos Vela. At the end of the season, the 37-year-old Argentine was named the league's MVP, the best player in the championship. However, in the playoffs, the team unexpectedly crashed out in the first round against Atlanta United, which was a bitter disappointment after a brilliant regular season. Messi finished the 2025 season on an even higher note, winning the MLS Golden Boot as the league's top scorer. In 2.5 years in Miami, he played 82 matches, scored 71 goals, and provided 37 assists, statistics that are astounding even for a player of his class. Tickets for Inter Miami matches became the most expensive and scarce in the league, and attendance at the team's away matches tripled. Everyone wanted to see Messi live. On October 23, 2025, the club announced sensational news. Messi extended his contract until the end of 2028. This meant that the Argentine would play until he was 41, which seemed incredible for a footballer of his level. "I am very happy to stay here and continue this project, which has become not just a dream, but a beautiful reality," Messi said at the presentation. Club co-owner David Beckham did not hide his emotions. "We brought the greatest player in history to our city. This shows our commitment to Miami, but also Leo's commitment to the city, the club, and the game." The contract extension was related to two major events. Firstly, Inter Miami is building a new stadium, Miami Freedom Park, with a capacity of 25,000 spectators, scheduled to open in 2026. Messi wanted to be a part of this story, to play in a new home created especially for the team. Secondly, the 2026 World Cup will be held in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, and Messi planned to defend his champion title with Argentina on North American soil. Life in Miami gave the Messi family what they lacked in Europe: peace and privacy. Tiago, Mateo, and Ciro went to American schools, quickly adapted to the new culture, and even started playing football in the Inter Miami Youth Academy. Antonella enjoyed Florida's sunny climate, the ocean, and the opportunity to live a more measured life. For Lionel, it was a chance to end his career not in pursuit of yet another trophy, but in a place where he could simply be a father, a husband, and a footballer enjoying the game. Messi's influence on American football was colossal. MLS match attendance increased by 30%. Jersey sales broke all records, and youth academies saw a surge in interest in football among children. MLS Commissioner Don Garber stated, "When Lionel Messi chose MLS, it was a turning point not only for Inter Miami but for the entire sport in North America." The story of the greatest footballer on the planet continued, and a new chapter was being written under the palms of Miami, where dreams truly become reality. While the world admired Messi's goals and dribbling on the football fields, few knew about another side of his life. A quiet but incredibly important mission to help children who face the same difficulties he did in childhood. In 2007, when Lionel was just 20 years old, he, along with his mother Celia, founded the Leo Messi Foundation, a charitable foundation whose mission was to protect the health, education, and safety of the most vulnerable children. This was not just a superstar's PR project. It was a deeply personal initiative by a man who remembered how his family struggled to afford treatment for his growth hormone deficiency. The foundation particularly focused on children with serious medical problems, providing them with access to treatment that their families could not afford. The program included transporting Argentine children to Barcelona for operations and therapy, full payment for hospitalization, rehabilitation, and subsequent recovery. "I want to use my efforts and success to help children who need it most," Messi explained the philosophy of his foundation. A partnership with Herbalife provided stable funding for projects, allowing the foundation to expand its activities year after year. One of Messi's most significant contributions to charity was a donation of 2.6 million euros for the construction of the SJD Pediatric Cancer Center Barcelona, the largest pediatric oncology center in Europe. This medical facility saves the lives of hundreds of children annually, and every brick in its walls reminds us that greatness is measured not only by goals on the field. Since 2010, Messi has also been a UNICEF ambassador, using his platform to draw attention to children's issues worldwide. In 38 years of life, Lionel Messi has accumulated a collection of trophies and records that seems almost unreal. 8 Ballon d'Or awards, more than anyone else in football history. 46 trophies at club and international level. 10 Spanish championships with Barcelona, 4 UEFA Champions Leagues, 7 Copa del Rey titles. The 2022 World Cup and 2 Copa Americas with Argentina, 2021 and 2024. A record 602 goals for Barcelona, a figure that no one is likely to ever surpass. In MLS, he continues to rewrite history. In 2025, Messi set a league record by scoring 39 goals in a calendar year across all competitions, surpassing Carlos Vela's achievement. He also broke the record for the most multi-goal games in a single season, 9 games in which he scored 2 or more goals. Additionally, the Argentine matched Cristiano Ronaldo's world record for the most career games with 2 or more goals. 236, although he played 161 fewer matches. In October 2025, Messi was named the greatest player in football history by the International Federation of Football History and Statistics, IFFHS. But behind all the numbers and trophies lies a man with surprisingly simple habits and a deep attachment to his roots. Every morning, Messi begins with yerba mate, a traditional Argentine drink that he sips from a calabash through a metal bombilla straw. This ritual is not just a habit, but a way to stay connected to Rosario, to the life that was before fame and money. "I have many quirks," Lionel admitted in an interview, describing his household rules. "All family members must sit in their designated seats at the table. He never wears shoes at home, and he needs a certain order in everything." His diet has changed drastically over the years. He has completely eliminated processed foods, pizza, and carbonated drinks, focusing on olive oil, fresh vegetables, whole grains, and quality protein. His hydration regimen includes at least 2 liters of water per day. Before bed, he avoids screens, practices meditation and visualization using positive affirmations for mental preparation. Training focuses on functional exercises and maintaining flexibility, rather than building muscle mass. He has always preferred agility and speed over strength. Despite his status as the greatest footballer on the planet, Messi remains an introvert who avoids publicity off the field. He is modest, soft-spoken, and prefers to spend time with his family rather than at social events. Fans note his accessibility. He always finds time for autographs and selfies, especially with children. "I just want to play football and be a good father," he said, explaining his life philosophy. Financially, Messi has entered the top 5 highest-paid athletes in history, earning $1.85 billion in his career, adjusted for inflation. However, an astonishing fact: despite astronomical contract sums, Messi has never once been sold for a transfer fee in his career. All his transfers were free. He moved from Newell to Barcelona as a junior, from Barcelona to PSG as a free agent, and from PSG to Inter Miami also without payments. The story of Lionel Messi is not just a sports biography. It is an epic about a boy who was too small for his dream but proved great enough to change football itself. From the streets of Rosario to the pinnacles of world sport, from a diagnosis that could have ruined his career to 8 Ballon d'Or awards and a World Cup championship, his journey proves that greatness is not measured by height or physical attributes, but by strength of spirit and dedication to one's passion. Today, at 38 years old, Messi continues to write new chapters of his legend under the palms of Miami. A contract until 2028 means he will play until he is 41. Ahead is the 2026 World Cup in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, an opportunity to defend his champion title on the same land where he now plays. Ahead is the opening of Inter Miami's new stadium, where his name will forever remain in history. Ahead is the upbringing of 3 sons, who may one day follow in their father's footsteps. But Messi's main legacy is not in trophies and records. It is in the millions of children around the world who look at him and understand. It doesn't matter where you're from, how tall you are, or what problems you've faced. If you truly believe and are willing to work, the impossible becomes possible. Grandmother Celia was right when, back in 1992, she insisted on giving the 5-year-old boy a chance. That boy didn't just become a footballer. He became the embodiment of a dream, proof that magic exists not only in fairy tales but also on football fields. What next? Only Messi himself knows the answer to that question. Perhaps after his playing career ends, he will become a coach or a football administrator. Perhaps he will dedicate himself entirely to charity. Or perhaps he will simply return to Rosario to enjoy a quiet life with his family, sipping Mayday and watching his grandchildren grow. But one thing is certain: the name Lionel Andrés Messi Cuccittini will forever remain synonymous with footballing perfection, an example of how one person can change not only the sport, but also the lives of millions of people around the world.